All right, we're live. And so,
We did this every time.
yeah, we do. I could say welcome to our last final State Board Authority working group. It has been a pleasure. As you all may know, I shared an email with just a few updates from the National Association of State Boards of Education, just reviewing questions that we asked around what other state boards are doing with their functions and roles and responsibilities,
Mhm.
as well as what data requests might look like with other education agencies, as well as what initiating policy might look like for other states, what timelines might look like for that, and just any other feedback they might have for us for this working group. And so they shared a few things. They looked at our state statute, for example. They noticed that we don't really have a purpose in there that other state boards do, and gave us a few examples of those. So that's where we're at with that. And then the Education Commission of the States, similarly, they got back via email with just a few resources with comparing our state to other states and emphasizing that just every state looks different. Every state board looks different. Some members are elected by the governor, or they are placed by the governor. DC is elected by the people in different wards, so it's just a different case throughout. And then lastly, just looking into the Public Charter School Board and their accreditation of charter organizations, just looking for state statute that mentions that. I know on their website they walk through the process of that, and it's clear that that is one of their roles. And so I was just looking for just any other DC code language around that. Um, but that's where we are since our February 6th meeting. And I can share in the chat the recommendation. So I know the recommendations have been drafted. Representative Goulet put that together, and this working group has gone in and made edits at our last meeting. We also have a Word version of the DC code for the functions. We haven't really gone into there yet, but our next steps would be to just make final edits to that and come up with a report to present at the March working session. And please, anyone jump in if I missed anything, but that's kind of where we're at with all of that.
I'm sorry, you may have just said this, but I was trying to read along. With the PCSB accreditation, you were going to review the DC code to see if you saw that authority for PCSB in the code. Do you have an update on that? Or are you still looking at that?
Yeah, thank you. I am still looking for that.
Okay.
That lines up what's on the official website and what is in DC code. So I've seen language on their website, and I could link it in the chat, but and I could also include their process report in the Dropbox for this meeting. But I did not see anything in the DC code just yet specifically talking about the DC Public Charter School Board's role in accreditation.
Okay, thank you. So I guess my question is, what we're reporting out obviously should have the recommendations that we have. What else should be in there? Do you think it should just summarize some of the things that we discussed and decided not to include, or what else do you think needs to be in there?
I think what your recommendation should only include your recommendations.
If people are interested in the things that I think you all decided not to do, they can go back and look at these meetings and read all the minutes and stuff. Because I think like the recommendation has to like be its own separate thing. And then you can have justification on why you chose to recommend those things, obviously. But I don't think you should include like, we didn't decide to do this because we didn't decide to do that, because I think that like you all have had full discussions, and if people
Yeah.
want, like, this hasn't been a secret process.
Right. So in that case, I think all we need to do is just share our final recommendations and have the board respond to that.
Correct.
Darren, I'd like to add a final recommendation to this, which I had not intended to do, but I think I'm going to recommend, I'm interested in the position of the other two members here. I'm going to recommend that we discuss with board members the possibility of transmitting these ideas to the council in the form of a bill. Just to make clear what our recommendations are from the state board. So that would be a recommendation I'd ask that we discuss, debate, because I think it might be good. You know, I was initially concerned about trying to keep a low profile on this issue, but I'm less concerned now of that. And I think it's important to at least have that discussion about you know, about transmitting this to see if there's interest in adopting these recommendations.
Yeah, that was my hope from the get-go, and it was. You had just made clear, Eric, that you did not want to take that step, but if you've changed your mind, then.
Well, I did not, but if it's going to happen anyway, then I would want our recommendations to come from the board. So, I mean, I guess I'm in kind of a catch-22. Is I think I would prefer waiting on legislation just to, out of an abundance of caution, perhaps. But if you know, if that's something that's, you know, potentially moving forward anyway, then I would want it to at least come from us, or at least to have a version come from us as well. So I'm much more comfortable now having that discussion, I think, with the members at the next working session, and then maybe even proposing a bill that could be adopted then at the next public meeting. Because this will have come out of committee already, and we can discuss it at the working session. I can get a draft together, you know, very quickly on this. It's not that complicated. And,
So it would be a report and draft legislation?
Well, my reading of this would be is this issue has been referred to this working group already, and there's not a specific committee that would really go to, so it would need to go back to committee. So what we could simply do is a very brief resolution putting our committee's recommendations in if we chose, and then also have accompanying bill with it, which I think per the bylaws would have to be adopted simultaneously with the resolution. The legislation could be adopted later for transmission, but it could certainly go simultaneously. And I think a lot's at play right now. I'm just kind of thinking on this, but I think we need to have a discussion about it. And that's what I would propose, a discussion about transmitting legislation, not necessarily a decision that we would, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say my thoughts. I think that I'm expecting that we will have a really thoughtful product. I also think, given there could be other things on the record, it's really important that the board have its perspective as far as what would help us do our work best on the record. I recognize and think it has been responsible of us to have a conversation about, you know, just like everything that's happening around us in this particular climate that is outside of our control. And I also understand and hear Eric and agree with Eric on like, if we can't, like if it's gonna be out there anyway, then why would we not, like if like why would we not essentially say what we want? Like if the conversation is gonna be a public one in that way, there's no reason to not transmit at this point. And so I think that then comes off the table. And so I would imagine that it would be helpful for us to put together our recommendations, and strong justifications why we are recommending these things. I like that we have also thought about how they could happen, and I think that's particularly important. And then I think we should have the conversation with the board about next steps.
I agree. The
That's
thing
helpful.
the thing that we've added is the thought that we put into the how, but the core recommendations have been out for years now. So, you know, I see that as we've been on the record for this is what we want for some time, and now we have a little more flesh to the how, and I think we just take that to the board, have that discussion, and I hope to move forward with that.
So for me, I just want to make sure because I'm pretty sure it'll be Darren. So what we're saying is the report is simply the recommendations, correct? That you all have agreed to, have been worked on, that's sent around to other board members already. Plus an additional recommendation that talks about the possibility to bring legislation with whatever the board decides that its view is on this, correct?
Yeah, and I think it would have to have accompanying resolution with it, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page.
Yeah, and I think we need to have a discussion about that, because that's certainly not that's an issue I would certainly want all of our colleagues to think through, given the the various issues associated with it.
And if it does become a resolution, legislation, it would be kicked to a committee.
No,
Or
Well-
no.
We have been the committee.
we
Yeah.
are the committee.
Yeah.
So the working group would then continue to build that out offline.
What will we build out?
The resolution, oh, I was thinking after the working session. Oh, it would be presenting it at the working session.
Yeah, and then it's just board work, right?
Yeah, it just goes to the board.
Mhm.
So I mean, I think we've already made the statement here on what the substance of the resolution is. So I don't think there's really any question about that. We've reached agreement on what substantively should be in there. So it really is not, I think, a question of substance that would have to go to committee for the committee to decide the substance. And we just need to, we can certainly share a resolution around to make sure we agree with the footnotes and all that, but the substance is already agreed upon. It would just be working with the full board to determine, how far we want to take it. Do we want to do a resolution? Do we want to do a resolution plus legislation? And I think that's a discussion to have with the full board at the working session.
Correct.
So I'm happy to help with any drafting that remains.
If you want to take the first stab at it, we'll take you up on that.
I imagine it would be better if you did, but
Well, why don't we split it up? I can do do you want to do the resolution? I do the bill, or does Darren want to? How do we want to do this stuff? Because I'm glad to work on the bill.
Yeah, maybe if you do the bill, I can work on the resolution, and Darren can make sure we both do a good job of that.
Yeah, oh, he always does, so that's good.
Mhm.
You all, it is not next week, so you do have a little time. The working session is on, ideally, we would like to have drafts of these by next Friday.
Next
And
Friday,
so that we can post them with the
that gives
agenda.
a little time, yeah. Okay,
So a week from tomorrow. So I think that is the 28th.
okay.
Ebony,
But I mean, and
Uh,
it actually, it may be the 3rd because our meeting is pushed back a day.
Even better, that's even better. We get the weekend, so the 3rd.
So like, but I'm gonna double check because I think we do it 2 business days before. So if our meeting is on the 6th, that means we have to have everything posted by the 4th. So because the meeting date has changed, so it may be the 3rd.
Ebony Rose and Kim will stand ready to read along.
And review.
Yeah, since he's also in the meeting today.
Yeah, and so next week we may be, I know the staff may be very busy with other things because it's coming up too. We have to get our testimony in and our
Mhm.
performance oversight questions and by the end of next week too.
Mm-hmm.
Just if Darren does not respond immediately, we will follow up soon.
Oh, sorry, what was the question?
Well, no, I was just saying that next week is also when we have to finalize our testimony for performance oversight and stuff. So there's other things and like our performance oversight questions.
Yeah. I was just looking at the calendar for, how about we aim for next Friday? Just having like a draft, or is that too little time? Because I know, Monday the 3rd. It goes out, I don't know, I have to think about that,
So I will be honest, I think that's a good thing to aim for, but I've got a very busy weekend this weekend, so it really depends on how free my evenings turn out to be next week. Be able to sit down and draft it. So I'll take a shot. We'll shoot for Friday.
To be
okay.
realistic in terms of performance oversight, I can't remember which one next week is. I think it's DCPS or OSSI is next Thursday and Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be lots of things happening during that time frame also. I need to figure out which one it is, but one of them is like Thursday. They have government witnesses, then the government witness the next day. I mean, public witnesses, then government witnesses the next day.
Yeah.
I signed up for all of them, including MPD and DGS too, so. Seeing you.
I did not do MPD.
Gotta get those
I
SROs
might
back in
not
the schools, Robert.
I'll see you at all the other ones.
Yeah, we gotta come testify in support of getting our SROs back. Or the
On the 27th, next Thursday is DCPS.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess Monday. How about like,
Well, Darren, if you are not here, then me and Jen will touch base and we'll get those posted and everything. The draft, because they're only drafts at this point because it's a working session and it's not the final that needs to be ready for the public meeting. So
Mhm.
if you're not available, Jen and I will work on making sure we get whatever posted that comes from the committee, like the drafts.
Okay. You're saying, the getting you the drafts by what day, Bernice? I'm just trying to write this down and think through it.
If they can get us their drafts by noon on the 3rd, does that work for you all? So that the staff can review and prepare the post before we go home for the day on Monday the 3rd.
I can do that.
Eric,
3rd, yes, yeah. Works.
And that way, if you can just email it to everyone who is on this call now, and that way, Darren, if you're not here that day, I will touch base with Jen and we'll get them uploaded to Dropbox with the rest of the agenda materials for the working session.
Yep, yep, that works. That makes sense. Yeah, I was thinking not close the business Monday. Noon sounds perfect. And I'm gonna like make work blocks for next week around the performance oversight, but also try to build in time to support with this work if I can. Or like answer any questions, but at the very least, give you all the tools to build out that language.
Perfect. Thank you.
And then another thing that I could do is just create a shared document. So following this meeting, I can email the working group just the shared documents to work out of. Would that work for you all?
Yeah, that's helpful.
It would be
Perfect.
okay. And then any other questions about just my like reaching out to NASB or the Education Commission of the States, anyone else on that front? They were interested in what we're doing and they've been trying to keep track of these meetings and working sessions. And so I've been keeping them updated and sharing out like recordings of like the working session that's coming up. And other state boards might reach out with interest on this process. So that's another update on my.
Yeah, and then my only thing to add to that, Dan, will be that NASB, I think this may be, depending on how this process works itself out, this may be an interesting case to present at a NASB conference that's coming up in October. And that you members could be, a resource to others. But that timeline, the conference is in October. But when that information comes out, we'll be sure to share it with you all.
And that we could also publish, I think they mentioned just like their own like monthly journal. So if there's something like we want to share in the process of this or what we learned along the way, or even later down the road, like the implementation of this, that might be an interesting topic.
Absolutely.
Okay, but I think I've got everything. So I'll share those out and then connect with Representative Henderson Goulet on drafting those and anything else I can help with on those ends. Anything else for the good of the group?
No.
No, only that it's apparently National Love Your Pet Day.
Oh, I saw that.
I just saw it, and so
Can we
Kimba
see-
apparently knew, and that's why he came.
Can we see one of your beautiful pets?
Well, I don't know how beautiful he is because his sleep is being disturbed.
Oh, he's even got a matching sweater almost, kind of.
Oh, of course. And it's cold. We've had our walks today.
It's adorable.
There's a dog with a turtleneck. Who would have thought?
Camera shy. It's like a very photogenic guy.
I wish I had my babies here, but they would probably violate many different health codes and safety regulations, so I can't get away with that.
All right, well, thank you all so much, and I'll get out the report from this and the recording.
Darren, thanks for everything you did to get this done for us, so appreciate it.
Yeah,
You all.
Oh, and I
Alright.
just want you guys to know that Darren is coming up on his 5-year anniversary with the state board. He is
Yeah.
celebrating 5 years this year.
Oh
and
my God, that's right.
celebrating
April
20.
2020. Oh my God, I
Yep.
forgot about
I
that.
love that.
Yeah, so we have a 5-year and a 20-year celebration in 2025 for our staff.
Oh,
Roma.
really? Do we
Yeah,
give them
Roma-
anything special? Do they get like a special hat or like what is their anniversary?
Yeah, we are working on that, but Roma's been around DC government for 20 years. And so,
Wow.
so
So you
he
both
has lots of tenured knowledge.
God, that completely forgot about that. All right, awesome. Well, enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good weekend and recoup from last night and our long meeting.
Thanks,
All right.
everybody.
Good night. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Bye.